So a few days ago, Serena Williams, who, by the way, is a big fan of Avatar, tweeted a question about Avatar. It is a question I've heard many times already. Her question was, quote, if the original benders were the Sky Bison, Badgermoles, and dragons, how does that tie in with Avatar 1 when the lion turtles gave all the people bending powers? Now, I'm not the first person to attempt to answer this, but I will try to add my own input in answering Serena's question. So in Avatar The Last Airbender, the origins of bending are attributed to 4 different sources, each different for each type of bending.
The legends say the moon was the first waterbender. Our ancestors saw how it pushed and pulled the tides and learned how to do it themselves.
The 2 lovers learned earthbending from the Badgermoles. They became the first earthbenders.
The original firebenders were the dragons.
I learned from the monks, but the original airbenders were the Sky Bison.
There are never really any flashbacks or anything showing these things happening. They're simply just mentioned as legends. The closest thing we get to a flashback is an animation about the story of the origin of earthbending. Still, this is just presented as a story that Katara is reading. Now, as Serena pointed out, it is shown in The Legend of Korra during the flashback about Wan, the first Avatar, that the ability to bend was given to people by lion turtles. But let's first notice how they never really refer to that as bending. They just say, the power of the element.
You know it's forbidden to bring the power of the element into the city.
Please, grant us the power of fire.
Do you see that, Moolah? People. And they have some kind of wind power.
When people have these elemental powers, they aren't shown using them with very good technique or martial arts. It's only after training with a dragon that Wan begins to show proficiency and technique with his fire powers. So many postulate that the term bending actually refers to being able to manipulate the elements with proficiency and technique, instead of just referring to the ability to control or wield the elements.
And the way Wan moves fire, it's like nothing I've ever seen. He uses it like it's an extension of his body.
I was able to learn earthbending, not just as a martial art, but as an extension of my senses.
If you remember, Katara even hesitates to refer to herself as a waterbender before she is skilled at the art.
You're a waterbender!
Well, sort of. Not yet.
Now, this has led many to conclude that the ability to manipulate the elements was given to humans by the lion turtles, but the techniques, movements, and styles to manipulate the elements in such an effective and skilled manner was taught to the humans by the various bending animals. And the moon.
One of these things is not like the others.
Kind of like how someone could give you a tennis racket, but to be able to play tennis well, you'd have to train with someone like Serena Williams. So perhaps Oma and Shu were not the first people to manipulate Earth, but the first to learn earthbending techniques from the Badgermoles. It's also worth pointing out that in Wan's time, the Air People's tattoos were not arrows, as the Sky Bison were not yet part of their culture. They had not yet learned airbending techniques from the Bison. This theory actually does coincide somewhat with the first show. When Zuko's firebending was weak, he was still able to create fire, but he needed to be taught by the dragons to use it effectively again. So remember how in Avatar The Last Airbender, the origins of bending are just kind of spoken of, like legends?
The legends say the moon was the first waterbender.
Legends are stories with some truth and some myth, and perhaps lion turtles were forgotten in these stories, but apparently not totally forgotten by humanity.
But I saw something in you right away. I saw a heart as strong as a lion turtle and twice as big.
Wan lived 10,000 years before Korra. That is a really long time.
10,000 years will give you such a crick in the neck.
Plenty of time for stories to be changed. Now, a lot of what I just said has already been said by others, be it on blogs or right here on YouTube. But the biggest problem with answering this question is that it just leads to more questions.
That just raises further questions.
For starters, one thing we must touch upon is what the lion turtle said in Avatar The Last Airbender.
In the era before the Avatar, we bent not the elements, but the energy within ourselves.
Yeah, he needs to enunciate, but he said that in the era before the Avatar, we bent not the elements, but the energy within ourselves. It's unclear who he's referring to when he says we, but if we includes humans, he might be using the more strict definition of bending. That is, manipulating the elements with mastery instead of simply wielding them. Or maybe he just meant we the lion turtles. Maybe the lion turtles learned energy bending before they learned the other elements. This also begs the question as to why the lion turtles never seemed to give the power of energy bending to anyone before Aang. At least not that we know of. Another question it raises, if the humans got the ability to manipulate the elements from the lion turtles, did the other animals also get the ability to manipulate the elements from the lion turtles? I feel like it would logically follow that the lion turtles did indeed give the various animals the powers of the elements. Perhaps these species were on the verge of extinction and the turtles gave them the elemental powers to help them survive. Remember that they gave the humans the elements to help them survive in the spirit wilds.
We are venturing into the spirit wilds to bring back food for our people.
The power is yours to keep until your return.
This could have been many thousands of years before humans even came into the picture. Enough time for the animals to develop bending techniques. But there are still endless more questions. Where did the lion turtles come from? Where did the humans even come from? Where did the turtles get the powers of the elements? Or the ability to give the ability to manipulate the elements? I'm going to answer all these questions with one simple answer. It's because the writers wrote this universe that way. See, this is the problem with trying to explain the origins of everything in a fantasy world. It only raises further questions, and eventually you just have to accept that things are the way they are because the writers wrote it that way. Hell, we can't even explain everything in the real universe.
This dark energy forcing an expansion of the universe so fast that it's accelerating. You can't explain that.
This is why I just kind of preferred the origins of bending to be shrouded in legends. I never really wanted to see the origins of bending or even the Avatar. I just accepted that these things exist in this universe. However, these things can still be fun to theorize about, and I may elaborate on them in a future video. Okay, so now I must ask you for a favor. Yes, you. All of you, my viewers. I am going to tweet this video at Serena Williams as a reply to her question. But one person will not be enough. If I can get several hundred or several thousand of my viewers to do the same, maybe, just maybe she will notice this video. So help me out, tweet this video at Serena. I'll put a link to her Twitter in the description. I don't care if you're watching this video on the day of its upload or many years later. Tweet this to Serena, it's not too late.
Do it! Just do it!
I will be forever grateful to all who help me.
Do it! Do it! Yes, you can!
Serena, if you're watching this, I hope this answered your question. Feel free to ask more questions about Avatar and I will answer them to the best of my ability. My channel's main focus is Avatar: The Last Airbender, so Serena, you will definitely like my other videos.